Hi everybody. I hope you'll find the next 2 or 3 minutes useful. I've just recorded a few things about tutoring that everybody's doing in their schools and some about teaching to the gaps, just in preparation really for the phonics screen check. So believe it or not, 6 to 7 weeks to go before we do the phonics screen check. And I know how hard everybody has been working leading up to this. I know it's not just about the phonics screen check, but it's important that we do the very best to make sure that our children are successful. So my top tips. Tutoring is really important, isn't it? For children who are starting to fall behind, it's really important that we are managing to keep them up with their peers and keep them on the pathway to be able to pass their phonics screen check and go through that reading gateway. So we have spent a long time looking at the tutoring in the sessions that I've been on with you, and I know all of you are looking at and using the Whatever It Takes document. I think this is a really crucial document, and if used properly, it can have a huge impact. So my advice with that is be really specific about what you want your tutors to be delivering, and make sure that they really know what they should be focusing on for each child when they are taking them, because it's such a big investment that it's important we get it right. I've talked a lot about the reading routine and making sure that's really consistent and explicitly modelled, and that one-to-one tuition session is a fantastic time for people to be able to do that. So make sure your staff are really clear on what you say in your school for your reading routine and how it's modelled to really support those children who need to be doing that out loud, then doing it in their head, and then using that reading routine to be able to read those words fluently. I see lots of tuition where the children are learning a new sound or they're doing some gap teaching, but not always applying it to a word that's a medium word or a longer word. And it's important that we prepare our children for that. And on your Whatever It Takes document, if your children can read short words, then the staff taking that tutoring session should really be concentrating on children being able to read longer words, because that's what they'll be expected to be able to do in their phonics session. Make sure it says on your Whatever It Takes document what are the words that you're expecting them, the length of words you're expecting them to practice. Also make sure your staff know how many sounds are being taught in each session. If you've asked your tutor to look at 5 sounds in a week, are they looking at all those 5 sounds on the Monday and not really embedding them in and doing it in detail? Or if you said to them, we're doing 1 a day, really embed it, keep practicing it all week in the speedy sound part, but really teach that 1 sound well. So it's about what to include in each of those sessions. Check in with your tutors, go and have a look and check that they understand what's on that Whatever It Takes document, because it might make a huge difference. And the other top tip is whatever they've done in the phonics session with their teachers and other staff that are teaching them, that's also quite a good thing to add at the end and just say, what did you learn today? Which sound, which piece of code were you practicing today? And just check that they've remembered and can say it, because it was something that was new to them that day. During the PM session, again, this is a huge investment, isn't it, that we put into our children. And this is a great opportunity, again, to be thinking about the gaps, but really embedding the sounds that they need to know. And my top tip for that is just make sure that the staff who are taking those afternoon sessions know the sounds that are needed for the phonics screen check. Remind them we've got 6 to 7 weeks to go. So which sounds do we actually need to be able to pass that phonics screen check? And it's important that your staff on the afternoon really are focusing just on those sounds. I would always suggest have a look at some of the gaps that the children have had, some of the sounds they found tricky, and at the beginning just start by showing them those sounds. This is code or pieces of code we've learned before, but some of you found it tricky, so let's just remind ourselves about 2 or 3 of these tricky ones, then put them in your speedy sounds pack. Say to the children, you'll remember now, when you look at this, you'll know. Put the gaps in the pack and then speedy sounds. Make sure speedy sounds is speedy, and make sure that the children are actually looking at the graphemes. Shouldn't have picture clues, because in a phonics test, they're not going to have a picture clue. They've got to practice it and know it without having picture clues with them. When you're asking the children to read the word and take part in the afternoon session, make sure you've got full participation. Wait for all eyes to be on you. And again, remember, medium and long words are really important for you to practice. Include alien words in the afternoon session, because that's a good opportunity to say to the children, if you see the little alien on the picture, these are our nonsense words. Don't try and make these words make sense. Don't try and make them say a word. It needs to be that the children are introduced to alien words at this point. My other little top tip is if in the phonics lesson you've taught a new sound or some tricky words and the children are really stuck on it, I would just ask you, the teachers and the staff who are taking the phonics lesson, to put it on a post-it note or to put it on a sticker. And if your child goes back into class and there's a post-it note with a sound on that they have found tricky that day, or it's on a sticker on their shirt, then staff who are within the provision or in teaching your children can say, oh, let's have a look at this. What's this? What did you do today? And it will just keep reinforcing something they might have found tricky that day. And I just think that's a really, really easy way to just keep plugging those gaps at all times throughout the day, and for all staff to be involved in that. And as a year one teacher, I would really appreciate that, because if I haven't taught that year one phonics group, I'd want to know which children found it tricky today, which children didn't get the code, and then I can practice it a little bit more, or make sure I put it in to my PM session as well. And just lastly, thank you so much for all your hard work. I love going into the schools I have worked in the past, and still are lucky enough to working. And I know how hard everybody is working for the children. And everybody I work with just wants the best for the children. So a huge, huge thank you for the things that you do for the children in your schools and I know that whatever happens, we've all done our best, haven't we? And we've all worked extremely hard. So lots of luck. But as I say, a huge thank you for everything you do. All right, good luck then.